This is Figma 101, a little workshop I prepared for all of you interested in getting to know the Figma basics and understanding a little bit more of how this software works. So first of all, I guess you all want to know what is Figma. So Figma is one of many interface design softwares that are out there in the market. So as you can see here, there are many softwares you can choose from, but Figma is by far the most chosen one. And this is because cost-benefit wise, Figma is the software that offers the best from all of the other tools. So why Figma? I'm sure you are wondering what are the key points of choosing Figma. So a few of them is that Figma can run in the browser as well as in an app. For this workshop, we will use the Figma app, but you can also log into Figma by your browser, which is pretty useful whenever you don't have the capacity to download an app. It is a software great for team-based collaboration. You will see further in the presentation, probably in the next workshop, how we can collaborate with each other in the same file. Figma is also great for vectors. You can vectorize pretty much everything, and you can handle vectors pretty well as you will do on Illustrator, for example. You can also create prototypes that you can run in various types of devices, such as your own phone, for example, or your computer, of course, or a tablet. And one thing that is also very useful is that you can have the tool of code generation for handoff. So this is pretty useful for developers, and it closes the bridge between designers and developers. And also you can have real-time collaboration, so you can see what other people are doing in the file in the precise time they are actually doing it. And another thing that differentiates Figma from other similar software tools is the autosave host online. So let's start. So in the process of creating something in Figma, the first thing you have to do is have an idea, right? That's where everything begins, when you have an idea. When you have an idea of how to improve the world, pretty much, or you have an idea of a new product that you want to launch, or you just have an idea that will help you personally, but you think will help other people. So for the sake of this example of this workshop, in general, I would love to talk about pets, because who doesn't like pets, right? So for this workshop, we will be creating an app that helps pet owners take care of their beloved furry friends. And this comes as an example of who hasn't had an issue of keeping track of your pet, of like the vaccinations, of their weight, of their size. And also, if you want to share that information, if you want to keep the information of your pet and things like that, I think this app will be pretty useful. So everything begins with an idea. And the second step to materialize this idea is to create a user story. And I think most of our business analysts present in this meeting will agree that creating a user story is the first step to create a very important app or create a very important product that solves real-life users' issues and helps everyone alongside the company empathize with the user. So for this app in particular, I imagine that the user will have to open the mobile app. We're going to create a mobile first. We're going to adapt a mobile first view because I think is the most used way to create prototypes or create products nowadays. Since everyone logs into their from an app or a website on their phone more than they do on their website or on their computer, it's very important to have an approach of mobile first. So I think beginning with the mobile version of everything and then moving towards the desktop version is way more useful than doing it otherwise, than creating the desktop version first and then going to the mobile version. So for the user story of this app, the user will first open the mobile app and then he will have to create an account, or then he will have to create an account if he doesn't have one, or if he has an account, he will have to create a profile for his or her pet. And here we have like important information that we need to know about the pet. Remember that this app in particular, you can have many ideas, but just for the sake of this workshop, I decided that the most important information was going to be about the user's pet and not the user itself. So for the pet information, I figured that the most important thing that we need to know is the breed, the name, the size of the pet, the weight, and the important dates. For example, birthday or when it was adopted. And then the system will create pet profiles based on each user. Each human user can have more than one pet, of course. So we could have like, I don't know, a human user with 3 pets, so 3 pet profiles. And in this profile, we will have sections about the pet, the health of the pet, that involves the information of the pet, vaccines, also their nutrition, if they have any special food, allergies, and activities. So in this part, the idea is that the app will keep track of walks and also have a calendar of walks, because as you might know, especially for dogs, it's very important to keep track of how many walks you can have per week. So when you have the user story, once you kind of have this settled down, once you're happy with the user story or the user path it will create for the user, another very important step is to benchmark ideas. This means that you go online and you search for similar products, you investigate the competition's products, and you just absorb as many ideas as you can. As designers, I think we have 3 main pages that all of us can agree that we consult whenever we want to benchmark ideas or whenever we want to fill our head with new ideas, colors, typographies, even user stories, because this can enrich the user story a lot. So I will quickly give you a glance of these 3 websites that we use a lot. So one is Behance, and here, for example, I could go and put I don't know, pet. And here you have so many options of even like just branding, but also what about pet websites? See, you can have so many ideas of the usage of colors, of the divisions, of illustrations, of how they're handling their own user experience. Another interesting website is awards, and this one is very interesting because it actually gives awards, as its name refers to the most creative websites. Some of these websites can be very special, I would say, but it's definitely worth checking. And of course, we have Dribbble. And Dribbble is very similar to Behance, but you can actually have more insights of the product of the designer itself, or anyone who created this project, for example. So these are websites that I think designers we use a lot more. Of course, there are more websites that you can consult, but I think these are the main ones. So once you investigated and you did your research on benchmark, and you got all the ideas and you saw as many apps as you think you can, you jump into your pen and paper. So these are just quick sketches that just come to your mind as you're working on the app. And these are like the first sketches that you will probably use to build the app, to build the wireframes. So this is how they actually look whenever you pick the pen and paper. But if you Google sketches, you will probably see some of these like amazing sketches that probably some illustrator did. But the important point is that they don't have to be perfect, right? It doesn't have to be perfect. In this point of the app, you can afford to make mistakes. You can afford to have like crooked lines. You can afford to not have the idea completed by itself, or just have a few screens. So this is the sketch I actually created for the pet app. And as you can see, it's not anything professional at all. It's not perfect, but it is a good start. And that's the point, that you have to start. Even if it's not perfect, you need to start with an idea. So for this step, for the fifth step, I will actually show you how to open a file in Figma, create a team where you can collaborate with other people on your design team or on the developers team, but that will happen further down the road, and have comments. So let's jump into that. So first of all, we will create a new team here, and I will put the name workshop. Workshop Figma 101. Great team. We will skip this for now because we don't have any other people that will be on this team for now, maybe on the next workshop. So you click on the team project and you go to design a new file. And as you can see here, this is of course empty. And this is the base of the, this is the baseline of starting to design with Figma. So I will show you pretty much how to start from zero, right? So first of all, you want to choose your frame. I always advise, I think that one of the best advices is to go to the smallest size of iPhone, in this case, that you can. So for this workshop, I will choose the 375 times 8012. That is an iPhone mini. So you can see this frame as your screen, as the screen of your iPhone, for example. And then we will go and we will place this image from a library. This is, of course, my very professional illustration of the user flow, as you can see. This was very well done, and I'm just joking. It didn't took too long. And the idea is that you don't have to spend too much time doing this kind of low fidelity wireframes. Because especially if you are in a rush with a client, you cannot afford to spend too much time on it. If you can spend a lot of time on it, it's great, but usually you cannot afford to spend a lot of time on it. By this point, I would like to know, before I move to the actual creation of figures and all the components, I would like to know if you have any questions of, I don't know, the user story or the ideas. Hi, Juan.
Hi, Lucia. Let's say that I want to have many prototypes based on the dimensions of the devices. Where did you get that? Where can I get those like templates? Or
Okay, if you want templates on Figma, you can go to Explore Community, and you can actually download design systems. So there are many systems already pre-made that you can actually just download. Some of them are free and some of them are paid. That's a good thing to know. But there are a lot of pre-made things. But the point of the workshop is to create something from scratch. But if you want something already pre-made, you can go to community and you can search for pretty much anything you want. The community of Figma is so big; they have pretty much any kind of design system you can think about.
and that iPhone 13 shape that you have, like that just you put in there. Yeah, you have
Oh,
it
okay.
or
So you go to frames here on the top left, and you can pick from a phone to a tablet, maybe desktop, even presentations. You can pick any kind of pre-made frame, or you can you also can create your own frame. Like you can change all the constraints that you want if none of the pre-made frames are the one you want.
Thank you.
Okay, thanks to you. Anyone else? No? Okay. So what would follow to the pen and paper sketch that you just did will be to translate all these sketches into an actual frame. And this doesn't have to be perfect. This will be sort of like black and white as well. And we just want to have a better idea of how this will actually look in here. And for this, I will use, oops, sorry. I will use some of the components that we have on Lightning Design System. So first of all, whenever you look at an iPhone, you have a top bar, right? Oops. Meaning, for example, this is where you will see the time and you will see if your battery is charged or the date, things like that. And then my first prototype, my first page, as I can see on the sketch, will only have a logo. So I will keep space for the logo. So this is my first screen, let's say. Then I move to the second one. And here I visualize, oh, and something very important before I do that, you can choose a variation of shapes on the top bar right next to the frames. So for example, I will choose a rectangle. I will choose a rectangle. And I'm deciding based on my sketch that this will be the first screen the user sees after the logo and probably an image behind the logo. They will see a start button. So I created the shape of a rectangle, and now I want these corners to be rounded. But I don't want all the corners to be rounded. I just want these top two corners. So here, if you see my cursor on the right, you can change the corner radius. If you want to change all the corner radius, you can pretty much do that here. But since I only want to change the top corner radius, I can click further on the right and change them independently. So here it tells you, you want to change the top left corner radius, it is on this slot. So let's say I want a 26 corner radius. And then on the top right corner radius, I want another 26 corner radius. And for example, if I want the bottom right corner radius, I can also change that. And let's say I just want a 10 corner radius, right? Of course, this will look kind of weird, and this is not the idea. So I'm going to erase this corner radius, and I'm just going to keep the ones on the top. I go back to my sketch, and now I need a button for start. Okay, so all these lines that I left here are just for text. So I don't need to put that. I will just put a placeholder that this is where I'm thinking about text. And I don't know if you saw that, but for a line, I can either choose the pen tool and just draw a line, or I also have the option of choosing the line tool. And it is very important that when you do that, you press shift on your keyboard. Otherwise, it is really easy to not have a straight line. But if you press shift on your keyboard, it will automatically create a straight line. So I have these two lines, but I think they are too small. I think they need more thickness. So to change that, you can go to the right side of your Figma file, or of your Figma view, and you can actually change the thickness of the line. For example, this is a 2. It's still very thin. What about a 6? I think that's visually more appealing. But I don't like the fact that the lines end in a square way. So I'm going to make them round on both sides. So now I have my lines. This will be my text. I imagine it will be the text. I imagine this will be the introduction to the app. And then I think the user should have a button. We're going to change the color, otherwise we won't be able to see. To change the color, you pretty much select, for example, now here I went back and I chose a rectangle again. And I decide to change the color. So I just go to fill and I want a darker gray. For these wireframes, it is the standard is to only use black, white, and all the shades of gray that you want, but not put any color to it. So I just want a darker gray so I can see that there's an actual button there. And I've seen on all the benchmarkings that I've done so far that the buttons are usually rounded. So I'm going to round the shape. Oops. I'm gonna round the shape to have like a rounded button. That's going to look better. And I imagine that this will be my start button. In this point of the creation of the app, you don't need to decide about typographies or about the color of the typography, not even the size. Remember, you're just creating like a quick sketch of how you think this will look like. So then I go alone and I create, and I imagine the user doesn't have an account, so he will need to create an account. So I kind of copy these. I copy this base frame, and I don't need this anymore, but I do. Oops, sorry. I don't need this anymore, but I do need to create this kind of shape. And I figure out that it would be nice to have an icon for create an account. It is a really good idea to have icons along the app that will indicate the user what they're doing or what that page is about. So I imagine that we will have an icon here. So this will be the container, and probably this will be the icon, the space for the icon itself. Oops, this is too red. And something very important also to know is that you can click here and Figma will automatically place the items or the components in the middle of the app, or in the middle of the frame, for example. Right now they are in the middle, but what if I want to align them vertically? I can click here. and they will be aligned, for example, here in the middle of the screen, right? But I want them on top. Then for the user to create an account, we will need inputs. And here comes the part where I told Juan that you can explore community and you can pull design systems that are already pre-made, and you can copy some of the components that are already made into your wireframes. This is very practical because otherwise we will have to keep designing this from zero. But I actually want to use the Salesforce Lightning Design System. And for this part, I'm seeing my little sketch. And for this part, I need inputs. I need inputs for mail and password. Oh, and talking about that, I could also pull a button from here. For example, Lightning Design System, that is the system that's used for Salesforce. So whenever we create a product for Salesforce, we use this library that is called Lightning Design System. I think most of you must have heard about it or know about it more than I do, at least. But I can pull buttons from here and just copy and paste them here. So for example, instead of having this start button that I just created, I could just pull it from Salesforce Lightning Design System. And, oops, and just change it. I'm going to detach it because I don't have this typography. And we can adapt the size of the button for this app, at least. In Salesforce, whenever we are designing for Salesforce, we have more constraints and we cannot really adapt the size or the width. But for this app that is just fictional, we will be able to do a lot of things. But the base library that I want you to use is Salesforce Lightning Design System. Then I need the inputs. For example, I go into their library and I can search for inputs. So for the user to fill their name, I think this will be the proper input. So according to my sketch, I need an input for mail and I need another input for password. So I'm going to change the typography. And this is pretty much the first take on how to create these low fidelity wireframes. These are called low fidelity wireframes. And I'm just going to jump back and I'm going to show you actually how it's going to look further down the road. So for example, here is the first screen that we were creating, right? So here we will have an image, probably. I imagine we will have an image, the logo, some kind of text that explains what is this app about, the start buttons that we were previously creating, how to create an account. To create an account, we will need the user to provide a validation code that we will send via email. And if the user puts the wrong code, we will need an error image for error image. It is very useful to have these kind of screens for errors. You will be surprised of how many errors the user can trigger. So I will say that this is one of the most important pages that we as designers can think about, the error images. And then I imagine the user will have to choose a breed of their dog or cat. Here we will have different options, and we will also have the option of no breed, of course, because I think we all have dogs that don't necessarily have a breed, right? Then just to make this more personalized, I imagine that the user can upload an image of their pet, of the pet they are creating the profile for, the name of the pet, of course, and this is the part where he will tell us if the pet is small, medium, or a large pet. Something important also to keep track of the pet is the weight. And here, I think it will be very useful for the user to change between kilos or pounds. Then we will have some space for important dates of the dog, let's say. So it could be a birth date or an adoption date. And here I left some space for icons. I just think it would be nice to have an icon. And to add one of these, it will open a calendar. So this is not the app finished by any means, but just having like a few screens of the whole user story that we define here is already useful to validate. Remember that you usually won't be working by yourself on any of this. So you will always have people that will validate your ideas or will have opinions, right? So probably by this point, you will be also talking with I don't know, any colleagues, designer colleagues, or probably the product owner, maybe product managers, and they will let you know if the wireframes, the idea of the wireframes at this stage are working for them or not. So yes, I think this is where this first part of the workshop will end. I don't know if you guys have any questions. If you want like more explanation about something. I'm open to hear your questions. So this is pretty much how your pen and paper sketches can translate to low fidelity wireframes. As you can see here, I already took how the status navbar of a phone actually looks like, and also the home indicator. But then everything, like even the text, is just a placeholder. And this was all done just with shapes, pretty much. Shapes and text, and pulling some items from Salesforce Lightning Design System. I don't know if anyone has some questions. We have like a few minutes for questions and answers.
Those Salesforce icons and buttons are public, free to
Yes,
use?
yes. Actually, if you go to even the Salesforce webpage, you can download their Lightning Design System components. And something that is very useful of Figma is that even if Salesforce itself makes any changes or adds any or they add any kind of component to their design system, this will automatically update. So you won't be missing any of the updates. You won't have to download it again, for example. But yes, these are free to use. And you have pretty much all the components that you need to build Salesforce pages.